Om Tyageshwaram Ramakrishnan Saradam Matrarupinim Vivekanandam Acharyam Natva Vakshami Shuddhaye. In our last class, we discussed that sutra which gives a warning so to say. Sukhadukhecha labhadityakte kale pratikshamane kshanardhamapi vyartham naneyam. As one has a lot of time and energy on account of reduced desires and concerns for profits and losses, the time and energy thus gained should not be wasted. Even half a second should not be wasted. One should wait by using the time fruitfully till these desires and concerns completely vanish by the dawn of parabhakti. The parabhakti dawns. One should not waste even half a moment. That was the sutra. See, a person of the world who is not a spiritual has so many desires, concerns for loss and gain. Also concerns about his or her image in the society, equations with other members of the society, managing their egos, so many concerns, the desires, the concerns for loss and gain by grace of God. His or her desires are well within the realm of needs, so less desires. That is the grace of God. Grace of God descends when, we know when God is gracious to us, when our desires become less and less. That is a sign of the grace of God. So devotee has less desires, less concerns for the world, is not worried about how world perceives him or her and all that. This gives time and energy, bandwidth so to say, psychological bandwidth and time to the devotee, to a spiritual aspirant. And Narada is saying thus, the time and energy, the time and attention that you have gained by withdrawing from the world, by restricting desires within limits and all that, you should not waste it. We should use every moment of such time and every ounce of such energy gained. That is this sutra. Prima facie it appears this sutra should not be there because devotee gains time and energy, or devotee withdraws from the world by getting involved in spiritual life. So we love God more and world less. That's how it should be. So our loving the world less, controlling the desires, should be a result of our loving God. Basically, ideally, there should not be any scope for loss of bandwidth, so to say. The same energy that we have, which we were investing completely in the world, part of it God takes, and our involvement in the world becomes less. That should be the ideal situation. So there should not be any scope for this loss of bandwidth, so to say. But practically it appears that that is not the case, and that's why Narada is giving this warning. It appears that it happens that our engagement in the world, our involvement in the world gets reduced. But our involvement in the God and religion and spiritual life has not increased to the same proportion. There is this gap, there is this loss of bandwidth. And that's what Narada is cautioning about. that you have saved your time and energy by withdrawing from the world, but the same amount of time and energy is not being used in spiritual progress, in cultivating devotion. Don't do that. So it does happen that we save time and energy by withdrawing from the world, but don't use it fully to develop devotion, to progress in spiritual life. And that's what Narada is telling. Don't yield to laziness. Don't give in to laziness, idle gossip, or so-called harmless amusement and entertainment. Don't do it. Don't waste even half a second. That's what he is telling. Just as worldly men who are so much attached to money, end of the day, count every pie, find out how much money we received and how much money was spent and what is the profit, what is the loss. A spiritual aspirant has to account for every second of the day's time at the end of the day. How the time was spent. Was it spent fruitfully or was it wasted? So this everyday calculations have to happen, and remedial action has to be taken the next day. If we have wasted time today, tomorrow we have to ensure that we don't waste time. That's what is important, and it is possible only when we keep alive our spiritual ideal in front of our eyes. The tension of purpose, that ideal should pull us. Only when our spiritual ideal attracts us, pulls us, shall we be able to use every second of our time and every gram of our energy, so to say, towards attainment of that ideal. Tattva jnanartha darshanam. Gita says, Tattva jnanartha darshanam. That is, you think what is the purpose of life. You think what is the destiny of this spiritual journey that we have undertaken. And that goal is kept always in front of our mental eyes, and that keeps pulling us, inspiring us to work towards it. So that was what was told in that sutra. The next sutra talks of another way or means how we can fruitfully spend the time and energy thus saved by withdrawing from the world. These are moral disciplines. Ahimsa, Satya, Shaucha, Daya, Astikyadini, Charitriyani, Palaniyani. These are character building values. Narada is talking of ethical and moral values. And it says Bhakta should follow these. His spiritual life is based, founded on moral life. That is what the scriptures have told. Satyam vada dharmam chara. That is the first upadesha, first instruction given to the students as they are leaving the house of the Guru. Satyena labhyas tapasa ihesha atma. This self is to be realized through truth alone. So like that, our spiritual literature is replete with such instructions to follow a moral and ethical life. There is no spiritual life without moral life. If we find someone claiming to be spiritual but compromising on moral issues, on ethical values, that spirituality is questionable. A spiritual person is thoroughly grounded in pursuit, following of moral values. That is the most important point we have to understand. So it's true in the life of service also. Just because we are doing service of God and man, service to the society, whatever, that's no license to flout these moral codes. Life of service, life of spirituality, both have to be rooted, founded on moral values. a very strict adherence to moral codes is necessary. If we want to lead a spiritual life, if we want to lead a life of service, morality cannot be compromised. That is one point. We should remember this. And he has given a list, 4 or 5 he has mentioned, but there are many and they are called by different names. Yoga Sutra will call them as Yaman Yamans. Bhagavad Gita calls it Daivi Sampat, divine wealth, so to say. This is the wealth of a devotee. A devotee may not have bank balance and properties, but devotee has these moral values as his or her wealth. That is the wealth of a devotee, Daivi Sampat, divine wealth. The first of these is Ahimsa, which means non-violence. So we understand Himsa by hurting others, and mostly we understand physical hurting. But the scriptures give a very, very comprehensive definition of Ahimsa. And it encompasses, so to say, it covers all the aspects of our personality. Physically, yes, we should not hurt anyone. Even by words, we should not hurt anyone. Criticizing someone is Himsa. Talking rudely to someone is Himsa. Vachika Himsa. It is verbal violence, so to say. So that it's Ahimsa in deed, Ahimsa in word, and even Ahimsa in thought. We should not even think anishta of others. In thought, word and deed, at all 3 levels, we have to practice non-violence. As I said, it is very comprehensive. We should not directly hurt anyone through thought, word or deed. We should not cause hurt to others also through a third person. We should not cause that. We should not be cause of Himsa to anyone. We should not sanction Himsa. If Himsa is happening in front of us and if we have power to stop it, we should not keep quiet. That is sanctioning the violence. So violence at all 3 levels of thought, word and deed, neither we ourselves causing it, nor making someone else causing it, nor sanctioning it even. And third is most important. We should not do it consciously. We should not indulge in violence consciously. But we should take care that on account of advertence or negligence also, we should not cause violence, Himsa, to others. It is like when we are walking on a wet surface, we are cautious, we do not slip and fall. So also, we have to be cautious. It's an effort, it's an attention we pay at not hurting others. That is practice of Ahimsa. Not only consciously, even inadvertently, out of our negligence, we should not cause Himsa, which means we have to be attentive. We cannot afford negligence, and through that negligence, causing hurt to others. We can't afford that. That is not Ahimsa. Ahimsa is to be practiced all time. To pay attention, to make that effort, to see that we do not hurt others. That is the comprehensive definition of Ahimsa. And that's why this is to be practiced all time. We have to be careful. That is the Ahimsa. And the counterpart of Ahimsa is Daya. That is compassion. Ahimsa is, so to say, negative. We are careful to not to hurt others. Daya is compassion. And of course, Sri Ramakrishna has changed this Daya into concept of Seva. He says, a human being is too insignificant to show compassion. So he says, transform it into Seva. So, Daya is compassion. It's a quality or an emotion of the heart. But Seva is when this Daya transforms itself into action with humility. Both are there. In Daya, there is some kind of superiority complex involved. When we show compassion, we feel we are superior. Sri Ramakrishna has changed it. So Daya mixed with humility, and a proactive element is added. It's not just the sentiment of the heart, but it finds expression in action, and then it becomes Seva. So Daya combined with humility and proactiveness, it's called Seva. And that is a moral discipline for a spiritual aspirant. We should be serving others. And Sri Ramakrishna says, Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva, Shiva Bhave Jiva Seva, thinking them, knowing them to be the manifestations of God. We should serve other human beings, and this should be a practice. We have to again pay attention and keep looking for ways where we can help others, where we can serve others. Sri Ramakrishna, he was asked, what is the difference between Daya and Maya? So what is the difference between Maya and Seva? The Maya is when you love and serve few people who are connected to you, who are your own, such people. Most of the people in the world do this. They serve their own. He says that is Maya. But when you serve everyone, irrespective of their belonging to you or not, irrespective of whether you will gain anything out of their service or not, that is Seva. So Maya is when you serve only those who are connected with you, or when you serve with a selfish motive of getting something from that person, that becomes Maya. But when we serve with a pure heart, without any distinction, there is no distinction in Seva. We don't serve a person and call it Seva. If that person is somewhat related to me and my service is because of that relation. Seva is when I serve without any distinction, without any self-interest. I don't want anything from that person. I look upon him as a manifestation of God and I serve him or her, whatever. That becomes Seva. So this Seva has these 2-3 angles to it. 2-3 qualities to it. It is done with humility. It is done without any discrimination. It is done without any eye on anything getting returned out of that Seva. It is unselfish service. There is no desire of any profit for oneself in Seva. Then it becomes Seva. So this is a moral discipline that Narada Maharshi says. He calls it Daya. Sri Ramakrishna tells Seva. So on one side is Ahimsa, and the counterpart is Seva. These two have to go hand in hand. One is negative, the other is positive. We are careful not to hurt others. We seek opportunities to serve others. The third is Shaucha. Shaucha is purity. Purity is external purity and internal purity. Bahya and Antara Shaucha. External purity, again, there are 2 angles to it. One is ceremonial purity, according to the scriptures, and devotee is not so much worried about ceremonial purity. He or she takes care of the hygiene, and that's where the external purity ends for a devotee. Hygiene, that's all. But internal purity is what devotee pays special attention to. As Sri Ramakrishna's story is there, unless you clean the shrine, how can you expect God to come there? And we want to enshrine our Ishtadevata in our heart, how can the Ishtadevata be enshrined, established in our heart, unless it has been cleaned, unless it has been made pure? And making heart pure, it's first getting rid of the impurities of the heart and bringing divine qualities into it. Cleaning the heart, so to say. Cleaning the heart of all its impurities. What constitutes impurities of the heart? So all the drives, the passions of attachment, hatred, anger, all these which are egocentric, which are self-centered, these are the ones which constitute impurity of the heart. Ashuddhi, impurity of the heart, are all these drives and passions which we have in our heart, which are egocentric, self-centered, related to ourselves. I want this, I want that, I don't like this, I hate this, I am angry at this. All these drives and passions, these are the impurities. So mind has to be rid of all these. Through prayer, first, we should pray to God to make our heart pure. Second, through discrimination. We have to discriminate. We have to introspect, find out what kind of drives and passions we have. And through discrimination and prayer to God, we have to rid our heart of these impurities and make it pure. And the purifier is God and His name. Name of God is the greatest purifier. Yasmaret pundarikaksham sabaihya shuchi. This continuous thinking of God, repeating name of our Ishtadevata, prayers and discrimination, with these, the mind is rid of all impurities and it is made pure. And in such pure heart, the Lord manifests. Lord can be enshrined in such pure heart. And hence, this Shuchi is very important. Ahimsa, Seva, Shuchi. Then comes very important value called Satya, truthfulness. Satya also has many dimensions, you see. There is speaking truth, and there is no compromise in it. In the scriptures, this we hear of Narova, Konjarova and all that. That is falsehood only. That is not truth. Narova, Konjarova is falsehood. It is not truth. There is no such thing as half truth. It is falsehood. Either it is true or it is false. It's binary. There is no compromise in that. And what is truth in terms of speaking? What is Satyavachana? What I have in my mind, the way I see things in my mind, to ensure that same information is understood by the person I am speaking to. Exactly same information, a replica. To speak in such a way and to ensure that what is in my mind is understood exactly in the same way by the hearer, that is Satyavachana. That is speaking the truth. There is no halfway. So there is Satyavachana. There is also living the truth. That is, we have given a word, we stick to it. Whatever may be the difficulties. Sri Ramakrishna was very particular about that. He said, if you said you will come, then you should come. That is Satya Acharana. There is Satya Vachana and there is Satya Acharana. Both have to be followed. That's why Sri Ramakrishna said, Satya is the tapasya of Kali Yuga. If we speak truth and live truth, that is self is a tapasya. Because As we start doing it, we'll find how difficult it is. It's extremely difficult to live by truth. So like that, these moral disciplines, and this is where the bandwidth is to be utilized in pursuit, in living up to these moral codes. The bandwidth that is gained by controlling the desires, by withdrawing from the world, it is to be used in pursuing these moral codes of conduct. Right. Next Sunday there won't be this class. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.